Taiyu was just a young orphan, trying to survive the pain of a tragic past when fate threw him into the arms of Mutsumi, the most incredible girl he had ever met, and, by chance, heir to a legendary family of assassins. His life turned upside down when he discovered that Mutsumi was in the crosshairs of dangerous enemies. Determined to protect her, Taiyu decided to marry her, not only to face his rivals, but to ensure a future together, full of passion and adrenaline. Days after losing his family in a terrible car accident, Taiyu, still shaken, looked at old photos during the funeral. The weight of the loss made him want to shut himself off from the world. When Mutsumi, his childhood friend, held his hand with affection, he tried to pull away, but she didn't give up. With a firm look and a warm smile, she promised to be by his side, no matter what happened. That promise broke Taiyu's barriers, and he finally let the tears flow, relieved that he wasn't so alone. Weeks later, at school, Mutsumi showed up with a carefully prepared lunchbox for Taiyu. As she placed the meal in front of him, she asked why he insisted on pushing everyone away. A bit awkward, Taiyu blurted out a sharp comment, saying she should save her motherly side for when she met some random guy on the corner. Mutsumi, unfazed, practically forced him to accept the food, with a smile that said she didn't take no for an answer. Embarrassed, he thanked her and asked why she had turned down the captain of the soccer team's invitation. At that moment, the vice principal, Kyuichiro, suddenly appeared, with an exaggerated air that resembled a secret agent from a movie. He stole a piece of Mutsumi's food and praised the seasoning, surprising her by already being back from a lecture trip. Kyuichiro, with an enigmatic smile, said he had only returned to stay close to her and asked Taiyu to meet him after class, leaving with a mysterious air. Later, in Kyuichiro's office, Taiyu wondered why the vice principal was sitting so close, ignoring the empty chair beside him. The atmosphere grew even stranger when Kyuichiro opened a photo gallery of Mutsumi on the computer. Before Taiyu could process it, he showed a video where he nearly destroyed the captain of the soccer team. Taiyu's heart raced, and just as he thought of screaming for help, Kyuichiro pressed a knife against his neck, muttering that he couldn't stand Taiyu being close to Mutsumi. Suddenly, a girl dressed in strange clothes, looking like she was wrapped in toilet paper, burst into the office through the window. Panicking, Taiyu tried to turn off the situation as if it were a dream. But when he opened his eyes, he found himself surrounded by Mutsumi and a group of strange figures who looked like they had come out of a secret laboratory. Desperate, he jumped off the couch, demanding to know what was going on. Mutsumi calmly revealed that those were her siblings, all members of a family of spies with superhuman abilities. While Kengo tried to explain that Kyuichiro was the most feared assassin in the country, the house alarm went off, signaling his return. Futaba bluntly told Taiyu that the only way to protect him was for him to marry Mutsumi. She hesitated, arguing that they couldn't force Taiyu into the family after everything he had lost. Even so, the siblings decided to confront Kyuichiro, while Mutsumi and Kengo took Taiyu to hide at the back of the house. But Kyuichiro was faster. He caught up to them and, with a cold look, ordered Mutsumi to stop protecting Taiyu. When she and Kengo charged at him, Kyuichiro used iron webs to trap them, revealing that Kengo was disguised as Mutsumi. He also demanded that Mutsumi drop Taiyu's disguise, insisting that only he could protect her. At the last second, Taiyu emerged from behind a picture on the wall, declaring that he was ready to marry Mutsumi. Seeing the determination in his eyes, she activated the second half of her ring and tossed it to him. Kyuichiro tried to block with his iron webs, but Taiyu, with courage he didn't even know he had, pushed through the obstacle, caught the ring, and made the marriage official. The siblings, appearing right after, celebrated Taiyu's entry into the family. The next morning at his house, Kyuichiro showed up to welcome him with a new attack attempt, followed by a forced dance session using his iron webs. Mutsumi arrived just in time to stop him, but Kyuichiro, in a sudden move, grabbed the two of them and jumped out the window, narrowly escaping a bomb that reduced the house to rubble. Shocked, Taiyu asked if that was just an over-the-top good morning. Kyuichiro, serious, revealed that the explosion had been an attempt to assassinate Mutsumi. Inside a limousine, he explained that her life would always be at risk since she was the current leader of the family and the future head of the underworld of assassins and spies. He said their bloodline was marked by humans with extraordinary powers, except for one normal member in each generation, responsible for passing on the gene that created the next assassins. Mutsumi, as the bearer of this gene and leader of the family, needed to be protected at all costs. Suddenly, a group of underworld assassins attacked the limousine in broad daylight with a hail of bullets. Almost panicking, Taiyu saw Mutsumi remain calm and say there was nothing to worry about since Goliath, the family dog, was an exceptional driver. While Taiyu prayed as if he were in a horror movie, Kyoichiro sipped tea, stepped out of the limousine, and with his iron webs turned the enemies to ashes. Back in the car, he revealed that a terrorist specialized in bombs was after Mutsumi and gave Taiyu his first mission: keep her alive for an entire day. He handed Taiyu a gun and said the bomber announced his attacks on Twitter, promising to reunite Taiyu with his family if anything happened to Mutsumi. For the rest of the day, Taiyu watched the school like a hawk, noticing how attentive Mutsumi was to her surroundings. That made him even more determined to protect her. But after lunch, he let his guard down for a moment, accepting chocolate from a friend. When he regained consciousness, he was in the student council room with Mutsumi at his side, explaining that the infirmary was closed. Then he saw, horrified, a bomb attached to the ceiling. The explosion shook everything, but with quick reflexes, Taiyu pulled Mutsumi to the ground, saving them both by a hair. Breathless, he realized that the bomber was tracking her every move through him. When he noticed one last bomb hidden in his shirt, Taiyu didn't think twice. He decided to sacrifice himself to protect her. He jumped away, but before the worst could happen, Kyoichiro deactivated the explosive with frightening precision and praised Taiyu for not abandoning the mission. Back at the building, the other family members appeared, revealing that they had been hiding around campus, helping Taiyu on his first mission. Shinzo showed up dragging the bomber, and Kyoichiro, with a sadistic smile, wrapped the villain in his own bomb before throwing him into the sky, turning him into a fireworks show for everyone. That night, Taiyu slept at Mutsumi's family mansion. In the morning, he went to Futaba's room to thank her for the hospitality and ask for training to truly protect Mutsumi. Futaba, with a serious look, said he would never reach their level, but Taiyu insisted, claiming he was ready for anything. To prove otherwise, she spun him in the air like a toy, showing a glimpse of the family's power. Even so, Futaba decided to give him a chance, but with one condition: Taiyu would have to live in the mansion for a month. He agreed immediately, since he no longer had a home. Little did he know that the mansion's floor was a deadly trap. When he was almost pierced by a hidden spear, Futaba apologized for not warning him that the house was a killing machine, and that if he didn't get stronger quickly, he wouldn't last long. The next day, Taiyu tried to ignore the alarm clock to sleep a little longer, but the device exploded, almost turning him into human barbecue. During breakfast, still trembling, he asked Mutsumi how she survived without powers in such a dangerous place. The siblings explained that the mansion system recognized accepted family members and didn't attack them. Suddenly, Taiyu felt unbearable stomach pain. Learning that the food contained doses of poison to build resistance, he ran to the bathroom, only to face a futuristic security system. After 3 weeks struggling to survive the traps, Taiyu began to adapt to the deadly mansion, surprising everyone. Even they had taken months to master the defenses. One morning during breakfast, Taiyu asked Mutsumi for the milk, as usual. But after a sip, the poison caught him off guard, and he bolted to the bathroom while the others tried to console Mutsumi, who felt guilty for almost melting his stomach. Suddenly, they heard Kengo scream. They found Taiyu passed out near the door. Nanao rushed him to the lab, and when he woke up, he insisted he was fine. Suspicious, Futaba ripped off the disguise Kengo had given Taiyu, revealing that he had been receiving help from the others to appear stronger. Annoyed, she scolded Nanao for allowing such a farce. When Taiyu tried to take the blame, Futaba, with a quick strike, left him dizzy and said he needed to take it easy. She handed him a training book she had used at the beginning to help him. Days later, thanks to Nanao's medical care, Taiyu fully recovered and even managed to deactivate the bathroom's security code. The family celebrated, and suddenly, Taiyu's ring began to shine. They explained that the mansion had accepted him as an official member. With that, Futaba agreed to begin his training as an assassin, since he had proven his worth. The following week, while walking to class with Mutsumi, Taiyu sensed a baseball heading toward her head and caught it without even looking. The team's coach, excited, thought he had found the salvation for years of defeats. Later, at lunch on the rooftop, Taiyu noticed Mutsumi's strange look and asked if he had done something wrong. She warned him to be careful with his skills in public, since the girls at school had started calling him Supermarket Ninja because of his silent steps. That afternoon at the mansion, Taiyu accompanied Mutsumi to the family office to organize a pile of papers. He asked why only she did that, and Mutsumi reminded him that, as the family leader, the responsibility was hers. They noticed that Kengo had forgotten an important attachment for the weekly report. When they reached his room, they were nearly knocked out by the smell of a mountain of dirty clothes. Kengo, appearing on top of the pile, asked what they wanted. Mutsumi demanded the report, and he, with a sandwich in his hand, told her to do it herself if it was that important. Taiyu, wanting to get it over with, began searching for the document. Suddenly, Kengo jumped off the pile, completely naked, and said Taiyu didn't deserve the stress of the work. Mutsumi, red with anger, ordered him to get dressed, but Kengo retorted, reminding her that they used to bathe together years ago before she became a naggy old aunt in the body of a stylish girl. That was too much for Mutsumi, who decided to discipline him. Clever, Kengo used his cloning ability to trick Taiyu and escaped the room. Furious, Mutsumi activated the mansion's lockdown mode to keep him from getting away. Meanwhile, Shinzo was on a secret mission, infiltrating a counterfeiting company. After stealing the matrix used to make the bills, the building alarm went off. Back at the mansion, Mutsumi and Taiyu, already tired of looking for Kengo, saw him hiding inside a picture frame. Taiyu tried to grab him, moving faster even than Mutsumi. But when they realized Kengo had escaped through a secret duct, she, frustrated, deactivated the lockdown. Determined to find the report with Taiyu, she returned to Kengo's room. There, she cuffed his wrist and told him to stop the disguise. Confused, Taiyu asked what she was talking about. Mutsumi, convinced, said he had captured the real Taiyu and was using a disguise to make her give up the lockdown. With a sharp look, Mutsumi told Kengo that the real Taiyu would never enter a room before her. Defeated, Kengo dropped the disguise and admitted that the little sister he used to tease in childhood was no longer so naive. Later, Mutsumi served a carefully prepared dinner to Taiyu, who thanked her, relieved to finally eat something without poison. But the relief didn't last long. A massive dose of cyanide hidden in the food sent him running to the bathroom. On the way, the phone rang, and Taiyu, still dizzy, answered, only to have his eardrums blasted by Shinzo's screams for help. Mutsumi switched to a video call, and Shinzo, desperate, begged for help because he was out of ammo at the worst possible moment. She looked at Taiyu and, with a teasing tone, said he was just a boring baby without weapons but still needed to go help Shinzo. Minutes later, Taiyu stormed into the building where Shinzo was cornered. While trying to locate him, a guard spotted him and pointed a gun at his head, demanding explanations. Using the weapons training Shinzo had given him, Taiyu disarmed the guard with a quick move and knocked him out, also taking down the other thugs in the area. When he found Shinzo, he was clutching a pistol like it was a teddy bear. But the calm didn't last long. All the thugs in the building appeared, and Shinzo, like an action movie hero, took them all down with insane precision. During the escape, however, Taiyu was shot in the thigh and fell. The shooter, a sniper, threatened to blow his head off if Shinzo didn't surrender. The moment Shinzo dropped the gun, Taiyu tossed him a fork, which he used to destroy the sniper's rifle and knock him out. Carrying Taiyu on his shoulders, Shinzo took him home. Meanwhile, a detective named Shion was investigating the mission site and tried to interrogate the only guard Shinzo had left alive. Since the man refused to talk, Shion lost patience, split the guard's head, and decided to focus on Taiyu. Days later, he approached Taiyu on his way home, asking for a friendly chat at the station. In the interrogation room, Shion threw photos of all Taiyu's recent feats on the table and demanded details about the people he was working with, saying that an airhead like him couldn't have done all that alone. Taiyu denied knowing anything, and Shion, with a cold smile, splashed a poisoned glass of water in his face. Taiyu, already expecting something like that, spat out the liquid before it took effect. Furious, Shion grabbed a hammer and tried to attack him. Taiyu dodged but fell onto a pile of corpses. When Shion threatened to crush his skull, Taiyu stood firm, saying he would rather die than betray Mutsumi's family. Shion raised the hammer, but Nanao appeared from behind the wall, yelling at him to stop the test. Confused, Taiyu asked what was going on. Nanao revealed that Shion was an ally who erased the family's tracks in exchange for their help in living his fantasy of being a psychotic Batman. Shion, laughing, said he hadn't expected Taiyu to last 2 seconds, and tried to ask Kyoichiro for help, but the vice principal, obsessed with Mutsumi, claimed an urgent mission and vanished. The next day at school, Taiyu felt a strange wave of fatigue take over his body. Kyoichiro entered the classroom, announcing that he would be substituting for the teacher in the first period. When Taiyu tried to take a nap, a piece of chalk flew at him at absurd speed, almost opening his third eye. He dodged on instinct, and Kyoichiro, using Morse code, said he needed to master the state of being half awake to fight at any moment, even when exhausted. Mutsumi, catching the message also in Morse, asked Kyoichiro to stop trying to turn Taiyu into a killing machine. Suddenly, Kyoichiro released a gas that made everyone in the room pass out. Mutsumi, prepared with a gas mask, remained conscious and tried to stop Kyoichiro. Seeing Taiyu with his head down, Kyoichiro threw another piece of chalk, but Taiyu, activating the half-awake state, defended himself. Kyoichiro spent the rest of the day training him to master this skill, but at night, Taiyu scared Shinzo with a violent sleepwalking episode. A few nights later, Xian, exhausted after a 3-day video game marathon, tried to rest, but a hacker invaded her system. In seconds, she counterattacked, invading the intruder's computer, but the hacker escaped at the last moment, taking several photos of Taiyu. The next morning, Xian, with deep dark circles, told Taiyu and Mutsumi everything, assuring them there was nothing more to worry about. But she was intrigued. Only family members had the access key to bypass the firewall. While walking to school, Taiyu narrowly avoided a surprise attack and saw the hacker chasing them. He grabbed Mutsumi and ran into an alley planning an ambush, but the hacker, a girl named Kureya, surprised him by attacking from the rooftop. With a disturbing smile, she declared her love for Taiyu and asked him to stand still so she could rip out his heart. Mutsumi recognized Kureya, a famous assassin who hunted men she fell in love with, filling them with needles as proof of her psychotic love. Confused, Taiyu asked why she wanted him, and Kureya said it was love at first sight after seeing a video of him on the dark web. She then took down another assassin who was after Taiyu, showed a public bounty on him, and said she needed to pierce him before anyone else. Taiyu calmly refused, saying he needed to live for Mutsumi. Kureya laughed, mentioning that Kyoichiro, who had given her the files on Taiyu, had made her promise not to touch Mutsumi. After showing a fraction of her abilities, she promised to return and vanished. The next day, Kureya appeared at school as a new student, resuming her Operation Conquer My Crush. During the week, she tried to ambush Taiyu several times, but he dodged all her attacks with ease until he started completely ignoring her. The situation changed one afternoon when Kureya, frustrated, turned the students into mindless zombies. They immobilized Taiyu, and Mutsumi tried to protect him, but the alley assassin reappeared, hungry for revenge. In the blink of an eye, Mutsumi pushed Kureya aside, nearly taking a bullet to the head. Taiyu, with quick reflexes, used his stun gun to knock out the alley assassin. Surprised, Kureya asked why Mutsumi had saved her. With a sincere smile, Mutsumi said she was glad someone else saw how amazing Taiyu was. That sparked something in Kureya, who began clinging to Mutsumi, leaving Taiyu as the sidekick on the walk home. Days later, in the middle of an intense training session, Nanao called Taiyu, telling him about an urgent mission: neutralize a biological weapon capable of wiping out all life in the city. When Taiyu asked if he planned to eliminate the lab scientists, Nanao explained that his only goal was to ensure the poison bomb was never used. He revealed that he had swallowed the weapon, activating his ability to destroy poisons, but that it temporarily disabled his body. Nanao asked Taiyu to get him out of the lab. Minutes after Nanao collapsed, Taiyu arrived at the site, but found it strange that most of the guards were already knocked out. Suddenly, 2 assassins, Sui and Oga, appeared. Taiyu prepared to fight, but Sui clarified that they were elite government spies sent to destroy the laboratory. Oga, excited, began praising Taiyu, saying that he was already a celebrity in the underworld. Together, they eliminated the remaining guards and found Nanao. But when Taiyu ran to check on him, Oga attacked, saying they needed to kill Nanao to make sure the poison didn't escape. Taiyu stepped in front of his friend, ready to fight, but Sui used a sonic ability that destroyed his weapon and left him paralyzed, with cuts all over his body. Sui promised to finish Nanao off painlessly, but at the last second, Nanao woke up and swore the poison was neutralized, showing a poison seal as proof. Convinced, Sui spared him and handed over a special ointment for Taiyu's injuries, though not without mocking, saying that saving a weakling like him was a waste of time. The next day, at the mansion, Kyoichiro was furious, roasting Taiyu for embarrassing the family's reputation in the underworld. Nanao and Mutsumi arrived in time to interrupt, but Taiyu, feeling guilty, admitted he deserved the scolding for damaging their reputation. Kyoichiro, with a piercing look, said that a nobody like him would never make anyone fear the family. Even so, he offered one chance. Taiyu would be spared if he could become better than Sui. Days later on a train, Sui noticed Taiyu and mocked him, saying he could feel his lack of aura from miles away. Taiyu admitted to being weak, but declared that he would follow Sui until he learned enough to grow stronger. Sui laughed, saying he would never keep up with him. As they got off, Sui used his speed of light ability to vanish, but Taiyu, clever, found a way to track him. Frustrated, Sui tore Taiyu's clothes to distract him. Even so, in the following weeks, Taiyu continued to follow Sui and Oga on every mission, refusing to give up, despite ending up without clothes more times than he would like. Finally, he managed to complete an entire day with his clothes intact. Sui then decided to end the game of tag. He lunged for a quick attack, but Taiyu, thanks to the countless chases, mastered the rhythm of Sui's strikes and threw him against a tombstone in the cemetery. Impressed, Sui admitted that Taiyu had potential, While Oga tended to Taiyu's wounds and praised him, Sui decided to stop treating him like a useless nobody. A few days later, Mutsumi dragged Taiyu to a picnic in the park, carrying enough food for a banquet. Taiyu tried to guess her plan, but was shocked to see Mutsumi greet Sui as an old friend. When he asked how they knew each other, she explained that, in the underworld, everyone eventually crossed paths one day. Sui said the conversation could wait and took them to a cafe for a meeting with his boss. He ordered a milkshake with a name that sounded like a chemical weapon, but instead of a drink, they were dropped through a trap door. While Sui tried to impress Mutsumi with his charm, Taiyu struggled to survive the fall. At the last second, a woman named Ran, with an extravagant style, saved him from a giant boulder. While devouring the cakes they brought, Ran revealed herself as the leader of Sui's elite squad and a former classmate of Kiichiru, but asked them not to mention the weirdo from Alabama around her. Suddenly, Kiichiru stormed in, demanding that they release Mutsumi. Ran shot back, saying Mutsumi came willingly, tired of a brother who was always trying to pick fights. The two started a brawl that destroyed the entire floor. Sui tried to intervene but was tossed aside like a fly. When Mutsumi stepped in between the blows to stop them, Taiyu protected her, taking a hit that smashed his cheeks. That made Ran realize she could trust him. Ran asked for Taiyu's help to investigate a politician named Yoshima Masa, who, despite dressing like a fast food chain mascot and dancing ridiculously, was adored by the nation. She suspected a sinister plan involving assassin triplets working for him. Since Yoshima Masa would recognize any member of Ran's squad or Mutsumi's family, Taiyu was the perfect choice for being new to the underworld. The next afternoon, during a rally, Yoshima Masa introduced his new assistant, Taiyu, disguised as a woman, already regretting the choice. In the following days, he observed Yoshima Masa and his triplets, trying to catch any hint of the plan. All he saw were horrible dances that traumatized him. When Yoshima Masa forced him to dance with them, Taiyu realized the choreographies were actually Morse code messages. Deciphering the movements, he discovered the plan: blow up all of Yoshima Masa's rivals. Days later, a meeting was scheduled with all the public figures who didn't support Yoshima Masa. He patiently waited for everyone to get on stage before activating the bomb. But to everyone's surprise, it exploded in the fountain outside. Furious, Yoshima Masa pointed a gun at Taiyu, shouting that he always knew of his betrayal, and fired. When a second bomb, planted at the last minute, exploded, the hall was covered in a thick cloud of smoke. Taiyu stood up coughing and taunted, "You're not the only one who knows how to play dirty." The triplets charged to catch him, but Sui appeared and destroyed their weapons in the blink of an eye, making them flee. Minutes later, Taiyu was on a bus, watching Yoshima Masa being taken to prison. Suddenly, the politician, with a disturbing smile, said that the accident that killed Taiyu's family was no accident, but planned. Before Taiyu could demand the truth, Sui called, warning that the Prime Minister had been kidnapped after the explosion. Yoshima Masa, laughing, said he needed to leave and threw an earring that blew up the entire bus. Taiyu managed to crawl out of the wreckage, and Sui revealed that Yoshima Masa was, in fact, a legendary assassin who had disappeared years ago, faking his death. Soon after, Yoshima Masa appeared alongside the Prime Minister in a kidnapping broadcast live to the nation. Removing his mask, he confessed to countless murders and demanded that the minister admit his crimes or be shot. When the minister challenged Yoshima Masa to shoot, Taiyu interrupted the broadcast, destroying the camera with a shot. He ordered Yoshima Masa to surrender, but the villain mocked him, saying Taiyu was too far to hit him. Disarming Taiyu with a precise shot, Yoshima Masa taunted him. Taiyu charged to immobilize him but was easily captured, confused by Yoshima Masa's ability to predict all his moves. The triplets reappeared, and Taiyu retreated to strategize. Sui intervened, using a combined strike to throw the triplets several floors down. Taiyu tried again, grabbing one of Shinzo's poisoned knives, but Yoshima Masa once again anticipated the attack and stabbed him with his own weapon. As Taiyu bled, struggling to stay conscious, Sui fought the triplets, who conjured a giant fireball. Using his sonic step, Sui defeated them. At the top, Taiyu dragged himself and charged once more. This time, he imitated Sui's sonic step, combining everything he had learned, and managed to take Yoshima Masa down. Defeated, the villain praised Taiyu's skill, recognizing his growth despite everything. He handed over a note with information about the accident, but before he could say more, a bullet pierced his neck, and he fell dead. Taiyu looked around, with no clue where the shot had come from. Hours later, following the note's instructions, Taiyu found a box hidden in a tree and returned to the mansion. The family welcomed him with relief, but the rest was short-lived. Kureya, now dressed as a maid, wrapped Taiyu's head with her skirt. He shoved her aside, demanding to know why she was in disguise. Mutsumi explained they had hired Korea as a maid, and she admitted she accepted the job only to make sure no one killed Taiyu before she did, since the bounty on him had increased. Korea offered help to make him a better assassin, but soon resumed her attacks, keeping him on edge. In the kitchen, Taiyu heard Mutsumi complain that Kiichiru's favorite tea had run out. He went to take a bath, but Korea broke in, taking pictures and chasing him with acid shampoo until triggering an electric trap in the tub. Instead of calling for help, Taiyu entered the water and redirected the current to the power source, blowing up the bathroom. Somehow he ended up falling on top of Korea, and when he tried to get up, Kiichiru appeared, furious, promising revenge for betrayal. The next day, Mutsumi tried to hand Taiyu his cell phone, but saw a call from someone named Koru, and asked who it was. Taiyu grabbed the phone and ran, while Korea teased Mutsumi, suggesting he had a secret heart eater. At night, Mutsumi pinned Taiyu against the wall, demanding answers, and Kiichiru joined in, threatening to finish him off. At that moment, Mumiji, Mutsumi's grandfather, and Kaoru from Ran's squad appeared. Mumiji said he brought a special delivery for Taiyu. When he reminded her it was supposed to be a secret, she shot back that hiding things only caused misunderstandings. Mumiji revealed a special tea made with items Taiyu had risked his life to collect. Kiichiru, embarrassed, tried to apologize, but his anger toward Taiyu returned. Mutsumi, tired, had Goliath pin him to the chair. Days later, after a training session with Futaba, Taiyu saw Mutsumi looking fondly at a photo album. She called him over to see a picture of when Nanao earned his spy license. Curious, Taiyu asked what a spy license was, and Futaba explained the ranking system, saying he would only be officially recognized after passing the test. Taiyu got excited to try, but Kiichiru appeared, reminding him that everyone in the family had passed on the first attempt and promising tortures if Taiyu shamed their name. On the day of the exam, Mutsumi cheered while Taiyu crushed the first test. But during a break, a competitor tried to eliminate him because of the bounty. Before he could attack, a strong wind blew him back, and Tsukio, another spy, reminded them that fights between competitors were illegal. When Taiyu tried to thank him, Tsukio, with a strange smile, asked for something much more friendly. Taiyu shouted for Mutsumi to run, but she looked at Tsukio and, with a smile, said there was no danger. In the underworld, everyone knew he was just a harmless weirdo who's into sausages. Jokingly, she threatened to cut off what he didn't use properly, but Tsukio, unfazed, dragged Taiyu to the rest of the exam. After exhausting hours, only a few candidates reached the final stage. An announcement excited everyone. They just had to cross a corridor to secure the spy license. But the floor began to collapse. Running desperately, almost everyone fell into the water below. A mohawk-wearing competitor called the Mohawk Ambassador punched Taiyu, trying to knock him down. When the ground beneath his feet gave way, Tsukio praised his determination and pushed him forward with a gust of wind. Taiyu, however, went back to save Tsukio. He insisted Tsukio not throw away his chance, but the spy revealed he was already a silver-level agent and was there as an examiner, testing who maintained dignity under pressure. Tsukio handed the license to Taiyu, but when he asked if the backshot story was a joke, Tsukio, with a malicious look, said he was serious and tried to make a move right there. Days later, Shion learned of the escape of an important prisoner and called Kiichiru. Meanwhile, Taiyu, just arriving home, found an old man hidden in his backpack and froze in shock. The man, Ban, jumped out, saying he was his grandfather. Suspicious, Taiyu launched an electromagnetic pulse, but Mutsumi appeared and clarified that Ban was actually her grandfather. When she asked the reason for his visit, Ban, with a cheeky smile, invited Kureya on a date before saying he wanted to test if Taiyu had the balls to protect his granddaughter. He tried to take Taiyu for a bonding session, but Kiichiru captured him, demanding to know why he had escaped prison. Ban explained that his mission to spy on incarcerated criminals was boring, and he just wanted to taste freedom. Kiichiru, accusing him of leaking secrets to impress women, promised to take him back. Ban retorted that his gray hair didn't make him any less dangerous, and he escaped Kiichiru's iron webs with a smoke bomb, taking Taiyu along. Hours later, in a bar, Taiyu got tired of seeing Ban trying to act like a ladies' man, and used a special sticker from Nanao to stick him to the chair. Ban, however, slipped out of his clothes, showing off an impressive physique and drawing stares. After dodging all of Taiyu's attacks, he told him to try again in a decade. Curious, Taiyu asked why Ban hadn't waited until the end of the mission to visit them. Ban revealed it had to be that day, and began telling stories about Mutsumi's grandmother, who had saved him from a life on the streets with her beauty and strength. In the middle of the conversation, Kaiko, a tough woman, appeared and restrained Ban with explosive handcuffs. He begged for a birthday kiss, but Mutsumi arrived and revealed that Kaiko was her grandmother. Ban confessed that he had escaped to see her, but Kaiko, annoyed, asked why he preferred flirting with anime fans instead of looking for her. She helped the police arrest him, but got in the car with him to spend some time together before solitary confinement. Even so, Ban escaped again days later, only to find that everyone had gone to the mall except Korea. In a dream, Taiyu relived the car trip with his family before the tragic accident that only he survived. He and Mutsumi went to Shion's room, hoping she had discovered something about the orb from Yoshimamasa's box. Shion showed the guest list from Taiyu's parents' wedding, with their names on it. Mutsumi broke down, thinking her family was the reason for the attack. Taiyu calmed her, saying there was another explanation, and Shion suggested he seek answers in the Library of the Dead. Taiyu found the secret entrance and used his license to enter. Inside, he saw an attendant stab a man for speaking too loudly. Shion, whispering, warned him not to make noise. The attendant, Makan, continued eliminating anyone who breathed too loud. After nearly an hour searching, Taiyu found a book about his family's accident, but it only confirmed what he already knew. Then he noticed a slot for the blue orb. When he placed it, he discovered that his family had been murdered by a group called Tanapo. At the mansion, Kyuichiro used Taiyu as a guinea pig for a new torture technique, but revealed that Tanapo was also behind the death of Mutsumi's mother. He said Taiyu's discovery helped narrow down the suspects of murders in the medical sector at the time of the accident, pointing to a doctor named Makoto as the main suspect. Kyuichiro suggested infiltrating Makoto's clinic to investigate. The next afternoon, Taiyu and Mutsumi disguised themselves as an elderly sick couple and went to the clinic. After tests, Makoto seemed like the perfect doctor. Hours after nightfall, when Makoto left, Taiyu broke into the office and, with Shion's devices, hacked the computer. In minutes, he found confidential information about a special protein, passed down by Mutsumi's family, responsible for creating superpowered spies like her siblings. As soon as Taiyu discovered a plan to extract Mutsumi's heart and artificially create the protein for profit, Makoto attacked, ripping off his disguise and shocked to see him alive. Taiyu demanded to know if he was responsible for his family's accident and for Mutsumi's mother's death. With a cruel smile, Makoto told him to ask that on the other side, and drove an iron plate into his shirt. Taiyu retaliated with a kick, tried electrocuting him with his stun weapon, but Makoto blocked the attack with bare hands and escaped using a flash grenade. Luckily, Taiyu had already copied all the data, promising himself he would uncover the truth and protect Mutsumi at any cost. At the mansion that night, Taiyu transferred the data to a computer, searching for clues. After minutes of useless information, he found receipts for a reservation at a hotel with a name similar to the dandelion tattoo of Tanapo members. Determined to find answers, he infiltrated the hotel the next day, disguised as a new employee. Kyuichiro called, informing him that Makoto was already in a top-floor suite and that Shinzo had been sent as backup. Wishing him good luck, he hung up, facing Futaba, who asked why he was helping so much. Kyuichiro said it was just to help Taiyu find peace about his family, telling her to mind her own business before leaving. Taiyu found the elevator to the suite, but an employee attacked him, slamming his head against the wall and saying the top was off-limits to pawns like him. Determined, Taiyu climbed the hotel with Nanao's special gloves. Near the top, the glass began to crack when a woman started a heated argument with her sugar daddy over a designer purse. She threw a heavy vase, and Taiyu fell into the pool below, nearly having a heart attack. He heard a woman order an attendant to take her pet lioness to the suite. Meanwhile, in the suite, a muscular man named Inman informed Makoto about a suspicious employee trying to access the top. Makoto, ignoring it, asked N-Man to try on a new shirt. N-Man refused and handed over a batch of a drug, guaranteeing no side effects. Suddenly, the woman with the lioness, Taiyu in disguise, ordered them to stop. Makoto recognized his voice and asked why he insisted on making him regret sparing him. Taiyu removed the disguise, and Enman threw an entire window at him, followed by a devastating punch. Makoto ordered them to use Taiyu to test the drug, an artificial version of the protein that gave Mutsumi's family their powers. Man injected the drug, transforming into a furious Hulk-like version, and broke almost all of Taiyu's bones. Meanwhile, Makoto called a hooded man outside the hotel. When Enman grabbed Taiyu by the neck, Shinzo stormed the suite, firing a plasma beam and arming himself with an arsenal of weapons. Enman, surviving the attack, provoked, asking if that was the best a Yoakura could do. Shinzo unloaded all his weapons and threw Taiyu out of the building. Enman advanced, but Shinzo contained him until he revealed an explosive button in his teeth, threatening to detonate the hotel. With no choice, Shinzo stopped fighting and became N-Man's punching bag, being beaten until the building shook. N-Man asked why he didn't give up, and Shinzo shot back that turning into a mutant didn't give him Mike Tyson's punch. An employee called, warning about a madman shooting at the hotel. It was Taiyu, using fake ammo to scare everyone, who jumped from the balconies into foam beds he had prepared. Knowing the hotel was empty, Shinzo activated an electric cannon, whose power only he could withstand, and fried N-Man with a lightning bolt. He called Taiyu to leave, but when he tried to reach him, Taiyu fell into the arms of the hooded man, thanking him for the help. Shinzo appeared thanking him too, but noticed serious injuries on Taiyu before he passed out. An hour later at the mansion, Nanao stabilized Taiyu. Shinzo took the chance to tell Kyoichiro that only one person could delay the body's reaction to an attack like that. Suddenly, an alarm went off, surprising Mutsumi, since it wasn't the usual time. Shion explained that it meant up to 1,000 invaders were trying to get in. Outside, an army of enhanced assassins led by Hayama prepared the invasion, with Makoto coordinating through communication. They advanced toward the entrance, but encountered Goliath, who revealed his most powerful form and attacked them as if they were toys. Futaba and the others joined the fight, while Hayama sent a unit to break down the door. There, Kyoichiro was waiting, trapping the first group with his iron webs, while Goliath tore apart the others. Hayama, impatient, apologized before jumping and landing a punch that broke Goliath's jaw, sending them both crashing through the door. Kyoichiro promised a slow death, but realized someone was interfering with communications. Mumiji activated lockdown mode, trapping Hayama inside the mansion with Mutsumi and Taiyu still there. Kyoichiro reassured Futaba, guaranteeing that they wanted Mutsumi alive, and left to find Mumiji, who was actually their father, and retrieve the ring he used to control the mansion. Meanwhile, Hayama cut the power, leaving Mutsumi panicked, not knowing how to maintain Taiyu's vital signs. Realizing his pulse was dropping, she remembered a conversation with her mother about the power of the family's blood. Quickly, she found a needle and began a transfusion. When her blood started flowing into Taiyu's veins, she tried to wake him with her voice, but Hayama burst into the room and attacked. Suddenly, Taiyu woke up, and with newfound strength, shoved Hayama against the wall. The villain tried to contain him before he reached his maximum potential, but Taiyu landed a punch that sent him through the wall, dodging all the blows. However, Mutsumi's blood overloaded his nervous system, making him collapse. Hayama moved in to finish him, but Mutsumi hugged him, helping to control the effects. Taiyu asked her to run, but Mutsumi, with tears in her eyes, said the lockdown made escape impossible. Pulling out a gun, she declared she would rather die with him than let her heart fall into the wrong hands. When she tried to hug him again, Hayama threw her aside, ready to crush Taiyu's head. But Taiyu, mastering Mutsumi's blood at the last second, opened a hole in Hayama's chest with a devastating blow, sending him straight to the afterlife. Meanwhile, Kyoichiro confronted Mumiji, demanding to know why he had forced Mutsumi to inject her blood into Taiyu. Mumiji, with a smile, said he only wanted to make sure his daughter had a strong husband. Wishing him good luck, he tried to leave, but Kyoichiro launched an attack with his iron webs, nearly destroying the forest. Mumiji calmly held the webs and reminded him that he was the one who had taught Kyoichiro everything. Even so, Kyoichiro recovered the ring. Returning to the mansion, he found Shinzo and Nanao trying to contain Taiyu, who seemed insane from Mutsumi's blood. Kyoichiro restrained him with his webs, put Shion's headphones on his head, and asked Mutsumi to save him with her voice. The others tried to stop her, reminding him of the disaster the last time she sang, but Kyoichiro ignored them. Mutsumi began to sing, a sound so horrible it scared even the animals in the region, but it managed to bring Taiyu out of his madness. The next day, Taiyu woke up with unbearable cramps but got ready for school, telling Mutsumi he needed to go to avoid raising suspicion about his extracurricular activities. When she suggested Nanao accompany him, Taiyu asked incredulously if the 2-meter monster with a bucket on his head really went to school. Mutsumi asked Nanao to show his true form. He injected a mysterious substance and reverted to his normal body, leaving Taiyu speechless. On the way to school, Nanao explained that his mutant state stabilized his unstable DNA and that he only used his normal form at school. When his ears began mutating, he told Taiyu not to worry. At school, Taiyu met with friends, but Nanao called him to the biology lab. There, he saw Nanao in crisis, his body mutating uncontrollably. Taiyu tried to help, but Nanao downplayed it, showing him how to inject another liquid to stabilize. At that moment, a girl named Ran entered with a python around her neck, checking Nanao's temperature provocatively, which caused an embarrassing mutation. Ran left, ignoring Taiyu, and Nanao explained that she only cared about animals. He showed a drug that would keep him permanently mutant, saying fighting his body was useless. Taiyu interrupted him with tears in his eyes, promising to help him live a normal life until he could control his mutation. As Taiyu spent the day injecting Nanao with control drugs, Ran returned to the lab to feed the animals. Her python swallowed one of Nanao's pills and transformed into a monstrous version. During a session of acupuncture Taiyu was doing on Nanao, two of Ran's friends appeared, and screams echoed from the lab. When they arrived, they saw Ran passed out in a python's scale. Nanao blamed himself, but Ran woke up and ran to save the snake, which nearly devoured her. Taiyu promised to protect the other animals, while Nanao followed Ran to the server room to lure the python. When it appeared, ignoring rats to attack Ran, Nanao accepted the inevitable. He thanked her for the moments together, transformed his hand and let the python bite him, using his cells to nullify the mutation. Taiyu carried him to the rooftop, though Nanao looked like he had been stung by a swarm. Nanao said it wasn't worth being normal since Ran had seen his true form and tried to inject himself with the mutant drug. Taiyu stopped him, knocking the syringe away and pulling him into a hug, reminding him of his promise. Ran, holding a salamander, said she didn't care about Nanao's mutation, classifying him as an insect. She also noticed Taiyu's closeness to Nanao, making them fear she knew about the family. But Ran only asked why Taiyu hadn't said he wanted to join the biology club, dragging him to fill out a form. Days later, Mutsumi interrupted Taiyu's training with Shinzo, excited about an invitation to an exclusive hot spring hotel for underworld spies. Back at the mansion, Kyoichiro couldn't hide his excitement at the idea of seeing how much Mutsumi's assets had grown, but Futaba threw cold water on him, reminding him of an urgent mission. Mutsumi promised he wouldn't miss the next trip, rekindling his excitement. He ran off but came back to warn Taiyu with a deadly look. "If you even think of doing something indecent at the hotel, I'll chop your balls into little pieces." Hours later, everyone got into the family van, but Shinzo noticed the weird route and asked Shion if the GPS was working. She told him to relax, and soon the van plunged off a cliff. While everyone prayed, thinking it was the end, Shion activated the van's submarine mode, explaining that the hotel couldn't be accessed by normal roads. After a trip across the ocean floor, they arrived at the underwater hotel. At reception, a gang leader recognized the Yokura family and prepared to fight. Taiyu stepped forward, but a short girl the size of a snow-white dwarf intervened, reminding them that fights were forbidden. Surprisingly, the leader backed down. Emma, the manager, welcomed Mutsumi and the group, greeting Taiyu, whom she had never seen before. In the rooms, Futaba argued with Shion for trying to watch an embarrassing video. Then, she approached Mutsumi and said she knew the real reason for the trip, assuring her Taiyu would understand when she told him the truth. At sunset during dinner, the gang leader reappeared, making a scene, and spilled beer on Futaba. The hall went silent, waiting for her reaction. With the alcohol hitting hard, she snapped and started a massive brawl. Taiyu carried Mutsumi to her room, ensuring her safety. Seeing the bathtub, he wanted to bathe in his own room, but Mutsumi suggested they share hers. Meanwhile, Kyoichiro arrived at the hotel, telling Emma that the mission had been easier than expected. She led him to the dining hall where chaos reigned. In the bathtub, Mutsumi noticed Taiyu acting strange and reminded him they were married. Standing up, she revealed her breasts, making Taiyu turn red. He asked what she was doing, but then saw a scar between them. Mutsumi explained that Tanopo had kidnapped her to steal her heart, but Mumiji had saved her, abandoning the family afterward. With tears, she confessed that Mumiji had plotted with Tanopo to force the blood transfusion into Taiyu, apologizing for dragging him into such a complicated family. Taiyu pulled her into a hug, saying he accepted everything that came with her and suggested finding Mumiji. Suddenly, Kyoichiro threw what was left of Shinzo into the pool and reminded Taiyu of his promise to chop his balls if he did anything impure. When he tried to attack, Futaba appeared with all the hotel's assassins, starting a pillow war that, after hours, defeated the sister maniac. Weeks later, Sui and Oga raided one of Makoto's labs, but fell into a trap with a deadly bomb. Makoto watched from afar before meeting a white-haired woman. At the Yoakura mansion, Mutsumi sipped tea, worried about Taiyu's plan to find his father, while Goliath comforted her. Kureya appeared, updating her on the siblings' work tracking Makoto, finding only the transport routes of the genetic substitute he had created. Mutsumi thanked her, letting Kureya rest on her lap, but couldn't stop worrying about Taiyu. Meanwhile, Makoto met with Mumiji on an organization train to discuss a new plan. In another car, Taiyu, working as an attendant, ran back and forth, dealing with passengers complaining about not being able to see or smell the food. After saving a boy who had climbed onto the roof of the train, Taiyu dropped his weapon, almost losing his motivation. Remembering Mutsumi, he returned to work and saw a white-haired girl, Yuki, almost falling. Helping her up, she returned his weapon, thanking him and introducing herself. Taiyu promised her a free glass of wine and went to attend to a passenger complaining about the window and smoke. Realizing the strange complaints, he activated a poison detector and discovered the train was releasing a colorless gas that affected the senses. Running to the central car, Taiyu blew out the windows with his weapon, dissipating the gas. Then he saw Makoto with Mumiji and approached, threatening to shoot if Mumiji took a step. Yuki reappeared, and Mumiji positioned himself behind Taiyu. He tried to fire, but Yuki's hair wrapped around him. Makoto revealed that Yuki was the only one with 100% compatibility with Yokura synthetic blood. He admitted that he had released false information to lure Taiyu, since Tanapo needed to compare data from a fight between someone with Yokura blood and Yuki. Thanking Taiyu for his stupidity, Makoto left with Mumiji, and Yuki began to squeeze the life out of him. Taiyu, with the new powers of Mutsumi's blood, managed to free himself and went to face Yuki. Despite his agile moves, she swatted him away like an annoying fly and calmly decided to tell her story with the Yokura. Showing a photo from 10 years ago, when she was on the verge of death from cancer, Yuki explained how Makoto's drugs saved her, but at a price, only 10 more years of life, while the compound destroyed her human cells. She revealed the tragic fate of those who reached total compatibility with the drug, and when Taiyu asked why she accepted that life, Yuki said she had already been practically dead before and was happy to serve Tanapo one last time, providing data to take down Mutsumi and her family. These words lit something inside Taiyu. Determined, he activated the advanced form of his weapon, ready to give Yuki the final fight she desired. Recruiting every fiber of his body, he cut through her hair, but Yuki regenerated it and repelled him, unleashing a storm of attacks. Suddenly, she began to communicate in Morse code, too fast for anyone without Yokura blood. Confused, Taiyu heard Yuki say that Makoto couldn't find out she wanted to reveal her connection to his parents' death. Yuki led Taiyu to a memory of her birthday, 10 years earlier, when, bedridden, she received earrings from Taiyu's parents. Makoto appeared, promising good news about a clinical trial. After being moved, Taiyu's parents left but continued visiting Yuki until she was discharged, living normally. A month later, at a checkup, Makoto took her to a lab with shriveled corpses, injected with Yokura blood before her. Horrified, Yuki asked if Taiyu's parents were involved. Makoto assured her they weren't, since he had already eliminated them, turning them into the exemplary citizens they had always been. Yuki confessed that Makoto manipulated her, saying his research would save millions. She showed Taiyu the earrings, revealing they contained GPS to locate Makoto's hideout, and asked him to use it at the right moment. To throw Makoto off, she resumed the fight, throwing Taiyu through the roof. Enraged, with Mutsumi's blood amplifying his strength, Taiyu went into a frenzy. Makoto grew excited, but Mumiji warned that blind rage would lead him to destruction. Yuki captured him, saying he would never protect his new family without controlling his fury. This made Taiyu remember the accident and everything he had overcome. He cut his own thigh to release the excess blood, regaining mental clarity. With everything he had left, he launched a final attack, cutting Yuki in half. She accepted her fate, falling into his arms and apologizing. Taiyu said it wasn't her fault and that his parents spoke of her often before she succumbed to her wounds. Suddenly, a wolf's arm tore through Taiyu's back. Shocked, he saw the attack had come from a girl named A. Another mutant, Mizuki, scolded her for not aiming at the head, but praised her strike. When Mizuki grabbed Taiyu's neck, about to burn him with poison, Futaba and Ran appeared. A tried to attack Ran, ignoring Mizuki's warnings, but was repelled by Ran's powerful aura. Mizuki released a poisonous gas, but Futaba, with Ran's help, neutralized it and blew up the train, saving Taiyu. Mizuki fled with A and Yuki's body. The next day, on a secret island, Makoto gathered his mutants for a party before his grand plan. Meanwhile, Ran summoned the Yoakura family, revealing the island's location, discovered thanks to Yuki's earring. Everyone agreed to a joint mission to take down Makoto. Taiyu decided to intensify his training for a few days while the others prepared. Later, while trying to return his weapon, Taiyu found Ban hiding in a drawer. Kaiko appeared to make sure he didn't overdo it. At the training grounds, Ban pushed Taiyu's body to the limit during the week. 2 days before the mission, he taught Taiyu to fully control Yoakura blood. Excited, Taiyu expected something serious, but Ban surprised him with a salsa lesson. Extremely lively. After spinning him like a top, Ban swore it wasn't for fun and shot Taiyu point blank. Mutsumi rushed to help him, seeing that he had blocked the bullet with his sword at the last millisecond. Ban apologized for breaking the weapon, noting signs of full activation in Taiyu's second eye. Suddenly, he shot at Mutsumi. Taiyu blocked it with his bare hand, and Ban explained his ability to harden his cells at will. Furious, Taiyu threatened to disfigure Ban if he did something so dangerous again. Ban apologized, revealing it was a prank planned with Mutsumi, who was wearing bulletproof material. On the night before the mission, the Yokura family gathered under the mansion's cherry tree for a great banquet, spending hours in light-hearted activities to ease the tension of the nearly impossible mission they faced. After much commotion, Mutsumi took the stage to detail the plan, finishing with an inspiring speech that lifted everyone's spirits. Kyuichiru, however, pulled Taiyu to the place where his mother was buried and revealed that her body wasn't there. He explained that after her disappearance on the night Mutsumi was attacked, Tanopo quickly advanced in Hazakura research, suggesting they were using her body. Kyuichiru asked Taiyu to help him recover it in secret, without telling the others. When Taiyu asked why he trusted him with something so important, Kyuichiru said the others might lose emotional control upon learning Makoto was experimenting with his mother's body. When he pulled Taiyu aside to explain the tortures he would inflict if he told Mutsumi, Futaba attacked him, joking if he now wanted to mess around with Taiyu, and dragged him away. At dawn, the family reached the airspace above Makoto's island. Newly awake, he was informed by Cha, a nerd with a mutant brain who served as the hideout's operating system, about the invasion. Kaiko wished them luck, and everyone mounted Goliath, who charged toward the entrance while Shion tried hacking the system, receiving a hostile welcome from Cha. Makoto learned that Akai, an ally, was already on her way to face the invaders, excited to see her use her powers to the fullest. When Goliath and the others spotted Akai, she conjured a deadly fire hand. Futaba deflected the attack, blowing up the entrance. Inside the base, Futaba noticed reinforcements arriving while Akai attempted another fiery strike. Makoto ordered more reinforcements, but Cha reported that Kaiko had destroyed the signal transmitters. Anuma then decided to join the fight, ignoring A's concerns, saying he would flee if the situation worsened. Akai, irritated by Futaba's confident gaze, fully activated Hazakura in her system, unleashing an explosion that covered the region. The heat made it hard for Shion to read thermal signatures, but Futaba dissipated the flames with ease. Akai insisted, but Futaba challenged her to give up to avoid permanent damage. Akai refused, activating her Yoakura blood. Remembering Makoto had said it was useless to fight a Yokura at full power, she launched a flaming arrow. Futaba caught it like a candle, extinguishing it. Makoto ordered Akai to retreat, warning that another attack would burn her body. Ignoring him, Akai, with nothing to lose, unleashed her most powerful explosion. Futaba blocked everything, closing in. When she got close, Akai released more flames, but Futaba extinguished them and carried her on her shoulders, asking her to rest. Shion, hacking the base, located the floor with test subjects and sent Nanao and Kengo to rescue them. Makoto, realizing the plan, ordered Anuma to stop them. Anuma tried using his Sub-Zero powers, but Kengo created dozens of clones to keep him busy. Makoto, furious, ordered Kurosawa to eliminate the test subjects to protect his secrets. I tried to dissuade him, since some were her friends, but Mizuki reminded her who was in charge. Kurosawa, in tears, received the order. Shinzo, however, revealed a new weapon that pierced Kurosawa's iron cells, surprising him. Kurosawa decided to eliminate him first, but walls separated them. Shion asked Shinzo to retreat, warning that Kurosawa was dangerous, but Shinzo refused, ready to activate his Yoakura blood if necessary. Kureya encouraged him, trusting in his preparation. When Kurosawa broke through the wall, the fight resumed. Shinzo kept the advantage until Kurosawa covered the floor with his iron cells, piercing his shield and causing severe injuries. On the verge of collapse, Shinzo remembered the fear he felt when activating his blood for the first time and his mother's speech about true strength. He broke through Kurosawa's attack, apologizing for overdoing it, and fully activated his powers. With a single blow, he ripped off Kurosawa's arms, which could not regenerate. Shinzo explained that this was a common effect when facing an aura beyond comprehension. Kurosawa, far from giving up, saw in Shinzo's blood a chance for regeneration, intensifying his hunger for victory. After exchanging blows, he tried to suck the blood from Shinzo's wounded arm. However, Shinzo thanked him for releasing the blood, and with a precise move decapitated Kurosawa. Shinzo called the others, assuring them that the bargain bin Iron Man was no longer a problem. At that moment, another group of henchmen spotted him, but their heads exploded before they could attack. Furious, Makoto told Cha that they should have implanted bombs in all the test subjects. Cha questioned if it was necessary to destroy them after years of research. but Makoto replied that they were irrelevant as long as he had Mutsumi's mother. In the helicopter, Shion discovered Makoto's plan to store tons of Hazakura at the lowest point of the base, planning to blow it up to poison the oceans, beginning a new era of humanity through natural selection. With only 30 minutes to stop the explosion, Shion tried hacking the system again, but Cha took her headset, mocking that she relied on enemy power. Anuma shut down the last power source, and Cha prepared a mental attack against Shion. At the last second, Kengo reactivated a source and, with clones, escaped Anuma. With Shion's help, he turned on all the sources, but Anuma, activating his Hazakura, reached him for a final confrontation. Shion created a momentary blackout, and Kengo revealed a clone of Anuma, confusing him and Cha. Activating his powers to the fullest, Kengo confronted Anuma, recounting details of his miserable childhood on the streets, where his grandmother sacrificed herself to protect him. The story shook Anuma, who lost emotional control. Kengo appealed to his humanity, leading him to abandon Tanopo and apologize to Cha. Sensing a superior intelligence watching him, Cha was caught off guard by Shion, who destroyed him along with the control room, mocking that he should have gotten a life. Kyuichiro and Taiyu reached the top floor, where Makoto awaited them. He mocked, saying there was nothing they could do to save anyone. Enraged, Taiyu wanted to attack, but Kyuichiro warned that Makoto's body was linked to the explosion's detonator. Makoto confirmed this, laughing, and revealed that Nanao had been captured after helping the test subjects escape. A and Mizuki attacked him, with Mizuki using poisonous gas. Nanao neutralized the poison with his DNA and tried to convince Mizuki, promising that his research could reintegrate them into society. Mizuki refused, rejecting a society that had abandoned him in a hospital bed and injected lethal doses of poison into Nanao. Meanwhile, Taiyu, Sui, and Oga arrived to stop Mizuki and A. Ran joined Futaba, renewing Taiyu's hope, who focused on Makoto. In the research room, A snapped, attacking Sui and Oga, screaming not to take her home away. Mizuki continued poisoning Nanao, who activated his powers, covering the room with crystallized orbs that nullified the poison. Oga called Nanao to see A, who had fainted. Sui recognized the signs of failure in Hazakura test subjects. He tried to drain the Hazakura from A, but her condition worsened. Mizuki suggested balancing her cells with his, transferring his mutant cells, which saved her but would kill him. He revealed that he and Makoto had saved A from an abusive home, but Makoto kept her scared to make her strong. A begged him to stay, but Mizuki, apologizing, promised she no longer needed to impress anyone and dissolved. Shion disconnected Makoto from the detonator. Taiyu tried to strike him with a shot, but Makoto treated it like a breeze. When he tried to detonate the bomb by phone, Kyuichiro cut him to pieces, warning Taiyu that Makoto could regenerate. He admitted he had been alive since World War II, researching the Yokura ever since. Makoto threw a finger, releasing a creature made of replicas of everyone he had modified, and ran to the final chamber to activate the bomb. Kyuichiro launched Taiyu with his iron webs through the monster, allowing him to chase Makoto. Shion asked for 5 minutes to control the detonation system. Taiyu knocked Makoto down and swore to stop him. Makoto pierced Taiyu's body, injecting lethal doses of poison. Using the Yoakura blood stolen from Mutsumi's mother, he scrambled Taiyu's mind with memories of the past, draining almost all his energy. Pinning him against the wall, Makoto injected more poison, but Taiyu resisted, cutting off Makoto's limbs. He easily regenerated and activated toxic cells implanted in Taiyu, which began draining his life force. Makoto attacked his brain cells and delivered a speech justifying his mission to mutate the planet. At that moment, Mutsumi felt Taiyu's pulse weakening through her ring. Pressing it against her heart, she transferred energy to him. After finishing his speech, Makoto tried to finish Taiyu, smashing him to the ground. But Taiyu rose, unleashing an electric explosion that ripped off Makoto's arms and destroyed the Hazakura tanks. When he tried to tell Shion the mission was a success, Makoto attacked again, revealing he had turned his body into a tank and only needed to blow himself up to release the Hazakura into the ocean. Kyoichiro and the others arrived to help. Kengo initiated a combined attack, turning his clones into drills that pierced Makoto's body. Nanao released toxins to weaken him, while Futaba and Kyuichiro struck a powerful sonic attack. Even so, Makoto remained unscathed, leaving everyone confused. Taiyu, realizing something, gave a signal that only Kyuichiro understood. He ordered them to position themselves for a new attack, with Taiyu in the lead. Makoto mocked, calling him the weakest, but Futaba launched Taiyu into the air while Kengo created clones to confuse him. Futaba fired a rain of stone bullets and Makoto laughed, saying common materials could not pierce him. Kiichiro, however, asked them to intensify the attacks to distract him, revealing that one of the bullets was Kengo, infiltrating the secret floor where Mutsumi's mother's body was. Kengo found the capsule with the body, connected to a network of wires. Upon touching one, Makoto psychically connected, warning that cutting any wire would trigger an explosion powerful enough to destroy him. Determined, Taiyu ripped out the wires, blowing up the floor and depriving Makoto of the Yokura blood that sustained his form. Desperate, Makoto tried to blow himself up, but Futaba absorbed the impact. While the others attacked him, Taiyu used the hardening technique Ban had taught him to survive. Joining the final assault, he defeated Makoto and took Kiichiro to the cold room to recover his mother's body. Hours later, Makoto was taken to a maximum security cell, while A and others were sent to rehabilitation centers. Days later, Taiyu tried to resume life at the mansion, but saw Mutsumi in a wedding dress. Kengo switched his clothes for a tuxedo, and Futaba announced it was time for a real wedding. Ban and Kaiko appeared for the ceremony, and everyone celebrated Taiyu and Mutsumi with friends from the underworld in a party that lasted the whole day.